I thought I'd chat a little bit more about the pyramid bow because I saw something on the internet. A guy on one of the forums in Facebook, he posted a picture of a primitive style bow he was making, and he said he'd made it and it was ready to go on the tiller, and that rang warning bells for me, because you don't make a bow and then tiller it. You tiller it and it becomes a bow. And the problem was what he'd done. There's your bow. The big problem with the primitive, it's too wide to grip, and the arrow's going to have to bend an awful long way to get round. So what you do is, well, there's the centre line, there's the arrow pass. So if we cut a grip, something like that, that allows a bit of a sight window. There we go, cut a nice grip. Need a bit more to get my hand on. There we go, so we just saw that out, and what's going to happen, well, obviously the bow's going to break there because it's now a lot thinner. So what we've got to do is we've got to build up a grip on the back. Now what this chap had done is his grip bulged out there, so it didn't actually support that weak point. So if you imagine we're looking at the other side now, his grip sort of started here, so you had a horrible weak point there, which is of course where it broke. So if you've got a visor section, it's got to sort of come out like that. It's got to fade from limb to handle, and that's what it's commonly called. You call it the fade, and it needs to be a smooth gradual curve. Another thing you can do is, if you're holding it like that and the arrow pass is there, there's a bit of room for the arrow to waggle up and down and to let you to see what's going on. Well, obviously you don't need to cut it away to here, you could cut it away there. Don't know if you'd hear that, we've got geese going over. So you've actually got some extra wood here now. So instead of the weak point being straight across there, you've got sort of a slightly weak point there and a slightly weak point there. You're spreading the load. Similarly at this end, I'll show you what I mean by reference to a couple of my bows. So if we look at this, this is one of my prettiest bows. This is absolutely gorgeous. This is cherry wood backed with a natural piece of yew sapwood. It's one of those Malegabet sort of designs with really skinny levers on the end that you can see are deep like that for strength, like the keel of a boat, and narrow. Here's the grip. You can see we've cut away from the arrow pass, but it's barely cut away at all that side. Again, here it's shaped for the hand, but it flares out very gently, and if we look where it flares in thickness, there's the real, if you had to say where the weak point was, that's where it's cut away for the arrow, and it flares, it starts flaring about there. It's getting thicker, it's fairly steep there, a little bit steep. For a beginner you want to take it more gently still, but the opposite danger is you have a grip with too much handle, too much fade, and you end up shortening your working limb. It's all compromise. Again, you can see this side, there's the fade, and so there's the weak point here, but the fade is well beyond it into the limb. The interesting thing about this sort of design, of course, is you've got exactly the same problem at this end, where you go from a wide limb to a narrow lever. You've got to fade, and that is very tricky because you don't want extra weight. This is a flight bow, so it's like a racehorse. It's been cut away to the bare minimum. So if you look at it like that and then rotate it, you'll see that fades over a very narrow, width starts increasing there, thickness starts increasing there, and the two work in harmony. Very pretty bow that. I think it's only about £40, something like that. but it throws an arrow 284 odd yards. Compare and contrast with my go-to field bow. This is Twister, so called for obvious reasons, but again there's the grip showing you that staggered cutaway. There's the arrow pass, it narrows for the arrow pass there, but narrows much further down for the hand, so that sits on the thumb. There's the grip, and at this end it just flares gently into my hand, so it sits, that bulge sits into the palm of my hand. So it's a beautiful bow. It's got that sort of coffee and cream colour to it. Not a true pyramid, but you can see it does narrow at the tips considerably. I don't know if you can see the grain. It's actually been decrowned at the back, on the back of the bow. So I've cut through some of the growth rings, else it would have been too stiff and too steeply rounded. But that's just a really sweet bow. Hold that, pull it to full draw, punch your left hand out where you want the arrow to land, and that's where it will go. Built in 2011, retillered a little bit later, 2017, still shooting nicely. Well, I hope that's been informative. Do leave some comments, you know, it's nice. I'm doing this to give everybody something to look at during lockdown and to get me out of the house. And I'm just such a tart, I do love talking to camera. So make a comment, hope you enjoyed it.